always the same thing. You lose, and then you hear, and then you see the confetti flying, and you're like, fuck my life. This is the story of my life, basically.
Playing the final is a huge thing for us. Like, no one of us expected us to go all the way to the final.
And Splyce are coming up huge. Boom! Headshot! A quadra kill for Kami!
In the end, if you want to win, you need to beat the best teams. And G2 has shown to be one of the best, if not the best team here in Europe.
Triple for the Sivir! And they turn it right around! A quadra!
But I wouldn't even be surprised if we would end up winning.
I told myself that I would never lose a final again.
Jak dym snujący się nad miastem. Wieści o bestii wędrują poza miejskie mury. Najdzielniejsi odpowiedzieli na wyzwanie. Choć dzielą ich barwy, łączy ich głód godnego przeciwnika. Ale tylko jeden z nich może przetrwać płomienie bestii. Po reszcie zostanie tylko popiół. Kto przetrwa?
Hello and welcome to Krakow, Poland! Tonight, we settle the scores in the European LCS Summer Split Finals. A best of 5 to determine who is the best in Europe. Before we take to the Rift, let's introduce our combatants, starting with Splyce.
Making it out of spring relegations, making it to second place to pave the road to Krakow, and with one last win over H2K, they qualify for the summer finals.
Put your hands together for the number 2 seed from the regular season. For Splyce to progress from the promotion tournament in spring to become the most consistent top of the table team and to appear in their first LCS final. Let's meet the players in the top lane. It's Wonder! Ganking from the jungle, it's Trashy. Controlling the mid lane, Senpai. Dealing the damage, 80 carry Kobe. His new superstar support, Nikki. Coach, Yamato Cannon. Substitute, Tifa. Put your hands together for the challengers to the throne. It's Splyce. Their opponents on the Rift today, defending Spring Split champions, G2 eSports!
G2 full control. This is the form we're looking at, and this is them going to finals. We'll see them there in a week.
G2 are looking to claim back-to-back LCS titles. Wanting to represent Europe on the international stage and prove they belong there. The self-declared villains of the European LCS. G2 are walking past the trophy that their name is already etched on. Let's meet the players in the top lane. Expect your two-time 2016 MVP, Trick. Mid laner, Perks. AD carry, Sven. Support, Miffy. Coach, Youngbuck. And their substitute, Unlimited. Ladies and gentlemen of Krakow, put your hands together for your summer split finalists, G2 eSports and Splyce.
There they are, Splyce and G2, and there is this cup that they are fighting for today to become the champions here in Krakow. Dzień dobry, Krakow. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, joined at the analyst desk by James Stress O'Leary, and giving our desk a Polish flavor tonight, we have H2K's Oskar van der Bogdan and Marcin Jankowski. We're getting a bit of an overload on the Jankos and Vander, you guys at Facebook Live. The winner interview yesterday, how has the experience been like for you guys, Vander?
Well, I guess you take us everywhere because we are Polish, so that makes sense.
And you guys are very nice to work with also.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, it's great here as we expected. So Polish crowd is the best, I think, and I think they will prove it once again today.
Yeah, they were very loud, and I can only imagine what the players feel. You guys walked here yesterday as well. Do you think the nerves are creeping in?
Well, I think it's quite fine. I think the crowd is very cheerful, and it's amazing to play in front of such a good crowd. So hopefully, you know, hopefully everyone will cheer for G2 as we do.
Well, I know it's a bit.
We are biased today.
I see that. Something on your cheek there.
Just a little bit. I mean, the crowd is a little split. We did a warm-up, and you know, a lot of Splyce fans still out there as well. But you know, these two teams coming into 2016 were challenger teams, and now Summer Split, the Road to Worlds, both of them are in the finals. I'm so excited for this matchup.
Yeah, so am I. But before we get into today's final, we're going to take a quick look at what happened yesterday. H2K claimed the third-place match over the Unicorns of Love, and as Jankos put in the post-game interview, while it wasn't all that hard, what is your summary of the match for people that might not have seen it?
Well, I believe that the only game that we lost was simply because of our own mistakes, and Unicorns was a really passive team. They didn't try to force stuff. They were overall kind of worse individual players, so I wouldn't call it the hardest, you know, playoffs of my life, I guess.
They put out a fight, and it was a good series.
I've got to ask a little question to you, Vander. What was the conversation like between you and Ryu when the Tom Kench with the Cassiopeia?
Oh, okay. This was really bad, and that's the moment we lost the game. So basically, we tried to set up the map, I think, for Drake, because Infernal Drake was spawning. And then I went to mid to help Ash. That was my plan. And then I heard, help me guys. And I'm like, oh, something's happening. So I went to help Ryu. I didn't have to really eat him. I didn't know he had flash. And then Forgiven died mid lane because he thought I'm with him as well. So I think it's just communication was terrible all around, and we lost.
Way to call out the bad moment. They won.
I was expecting it to be a little funnier than that. It was an oopsie,
like,
but you won the series.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right. With that, though, you guys did win the entire series, and that means that you definitely have a team to root for today, and I think it's the only time in his life that Jankos is going to cheer for Perks, because if G2 win the entire thing today over Splyce, that means that H2K qualifies for Worlds on the most championship points.
Whereas Splyce, if they want to go to Worlds, they need a win today in the best of 5, or they head to the Gauntlet because H2K will be taking the spot on points.
They're still cheering for H2K though.
Sadly, you're not playing today. Maybe they don't know it.
That's why we're putting you on the desk here. So does it hurt to root for Perkz in G2?
I mean, yes. I think it's actually very unpleasant feeling that I have to cheer for a guy that's actually very overrated. And I do think he will be able to beat Senkux on the mid lane. But I think when he goes to the World Finals as a rookie and as a cocky kid, I think he will have a lot of troubles there. But today, I cheer for him, and hopefully he will do his best.
What you're saying is that both mid lanes are boosted today.
Yes.
All right,
there is
well,
no Ryu, so.
Okay,
we're going to dive a bit deeper into that matchup between G2 and Splyce and that mid lane in just a sec. Let's talk about the teams in general, though. The two best teams out of the regular season, 1 and 2. And a couple of weeks ago, you might have said, well, G2 is more of a favorite. How much of a favorite are they today?
Well, I think when you look at G2, kind of what Jankos is alluding to, there were a couple of mistakes that came out of G2 from Perkz and the rest of the crew when you look at some of their games. I think one thing they have as a slight edge in this best of 5, though, is this is Splyce's first time on stage. It's their first finals. G2 have been here. They've done this before, so they should be a little bit more settled on that. But as we said, a few mistakes did creep in, so I still think they're the favorite. But honestly, anything could happen in this best of 5.
Well, it's hard to say if the inexperience of Splyce players will take a big part. Like, most of them played in relegations. Like, I think Trashy won relegations 3 or 4 times. So he's experienced to play when there's a big stake. The game, and then obviously G2 is really experienced and they won't have any problem with stress, so I believe overall I think they will win.
We'll see what happens, and we want to take a look at some specific matchups, and the first one is Wunder versus Expect in that top lane. Wunder was the MVP of their series, their semifinals, versus you guys, H2K. That Gnar, and in general a fantastic performance. Jankos, do you think that Wunder can tilt this matchup heavily for Splyce going up against Expect?
Well, I think Wunder is a really big part of Splyce team. I think with low resources that he has, he pulls out amazing plays and he's a very consistent player. I do believe, though, that Expect will be able to contain him, and even in our matchup, they should be able to kind of not let him snowball as we did. We can look right here.
I think if Splyce wants to win, that's the person that has to carry them. I think he's like the weakest point of G2 is their top lane, and the strongest Splyce point is also their top laner, so I think it's their only hope.
I absolutely agree. Wunder has become, well, I agree with most up until the Overcooked bit. It's, you know, it was surprising that Wunder had such a growth throughout the summer split, has actually become, you know, a big contender for the top laner in Europe here. And he's had such a big growth. And that was actually surprising because the Splyce of old used to all be about Senkux. It was all about that mid lane matchup. And that's where we want to focus on perhaps a little bit next. You guys have already been a little fiery when it comes to talking about the mid lane matchup, but you can't really ignore this matchup. This was a big staple matchup all the way through Challenger, all the way through Spring, and again they meet in the finals of the European LCS. Now Senkux has struggled a little bit when it comes with his overall mid lane progression this split, but he's been roaming very heavily, and Perkz has been making mistakes, so Soledad's against Exile, he can't really afford to do that today.
No, indeed, and I heard your opinions on it already. You think they're both boosted, so no need to dive deeper into that. Rather, Perkz is also very vocal always on social media. We have a couple of tweets from him after the semi-final where he said, GG, we won, I did nothing in the series, but God's trick carried, admitting that he'd need to step it up, and then he followed it up by, I have absorbed my failures from the semi-finals. In the finals, I will unleash my God level, channeling his inner Gilius. So.
Yeah, it's that Gilius meme, so
yeah.
I wish him the best, but I don't think it will be the case. So.
Okay, is there any other matchup that you guys look at? Maybe quickly touch on the jungle matchup. Our two-time MVP, Trick versus Trashy. How much will that influence things?
I think Trashy has a lot of experience, but I don't think we can compare him to Trick. And I think we cannot talk about those two without mid lane. I think both of the teams play very well around mid lane. I think that's partly why we lost the game versus Splyce. I do think, though, that Trick and Perkz are the better duo. And I think Trick is just too smart of a player to get beaten by Trashy.
And he's Korean.
And he is Korean, that is true. A lot of interesting matchups there. We haven't even touched on the bottom lane yet, but we'll certainly follow up with that later. Players are almost ready, so we're going to get into predictions. Maybe kick it off, Stress?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to be here for 5 games. I think the score 3-2. I actually believe Splyce can edge it out and hold the trophy up high at the end of the day. I'm sorry, I'm not making friends today. That's what I personally
You gotta
feel.
be true to your heart.
Hey, bro,
or
I
your
have to
objective.
talk to you after, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think G2 win.
G2 win, and how many games?
3-1 or 3-0.
3-1 or 3-0, so pretty convincing.
I do believe indeed that G2 will win. I think it will be a 3-1. Worst case scenario, 1 game or 2 games maybe. Perks would get caught. Otherwise, I don't see how Splyce can win the game.
Our slightly biased analyst duo here are rooting
Maybe
for
the Mikix Bard can catch Perks a bit. Actually, Bard should be so good against Perks.
Oh, there we go. Some info if you're listening there. Well, we'll see what happens. The players are readying up for picks and bans in game 1. So let's shoot it over to the caster desk and kick off the Summer Split Finals.
Thank you very much, Shock.